Final hour overdrive continues. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, up on TSN 2. Geddy Lee's a big Blue Jay fan, always has been, right? Sure,
Oh, yeah.
Rush. I wonder if maybe Ohtani's a big Rush fan.
Wouldn't that be a sway?
Wouldn't that be wild if
That'd be wild.
the whole time it was like Ohtani just loves Rush.
That'd be wild.
Can't get enough. Just cannot get enough. Alex Lifeson's like waiting at Pearson to pick him up.
And he just can't wait to play, in a stadium where Geddy Lee has like prime seats.
Yeah. Geddy's, he's always right there behind home plate. I think that'd be amazing.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Like if Shapiro and Atkins somehow sniffed that out, like they got in the meeting, they got down to Dunedin. Hey, tell us about yourself. What are you into? He goes, honestly, I got to be honest with you guys. I love Rush. Shapiro and Atkins immediately like, get these guys on a plane now.
Wouldn't that be wild?
Wouldn't that be amazing?
We know nothing about this
guy. Maybe he is
like
a
Rush.
Massive Rush. It could be. There's a lot of people that are, right? Rush is like the musicians.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's just his thing. Like he loves a 3-man band. Anything's possible.
For sure it is.
So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But Luke Willson coming up later in the hour. Al's brother coming up. Al's brother sent me a note saying the spread has been bet down to 5.5. We better confirm that, Doogie. But
whoa.
Yeah, because the Steelers have been a 6-point favorite for a long time, and both these teams are not very good. Like New England, it's actually shocking how bad it's gotten, right? Like Brady left years ago. This wasn't immediately after Brady left.
No.
Where, in fact, after he left, they made the playoffs, I believe, his first year after leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And, you get Mac Jones, and the belief is Jones can be a guy that can at least be a successor. He's not going to be anywhere close to what Brady was, but at least he would be a competent option that can kind of ease you into a new transition and into a new era. And now his career is basically over in New England. Like it's Bailey Zappi now, but Mac Jones is not going to be a part of that program. He'll get a job somewhere else. Like someone else will give him a shot based on talent. And maybe he's just a backup in the league. Maybe that's who he is.
But also, Hayes, like, how do you judge a quarterback when you got some of the worst blocking in the league, terrible line, and you got the worst receivers in the league by a mile? Guys that cannot get open to save their lives.
Nothing.
So how are you supposed to judge the quarterback when the guys he's throwing to can't get open, can't create any separation at all, and the guys who are supposed to be blocking for him are bottom of the league?
Well, I'm sure that's the case Mac Jones will make.
That's the case I'd make for
I
him.
think I probably would as well. Now, the flip side of it is, yes, these guys are terrible, but he's also made some throws that are outrageously awful.
Oh, yeah.
Like it probably is. It's probably a scenario, Dave, where both things are true. Yes, there's no weapons there. There's no talent. But also Mac Jones
averaging
may not have the makings of a, stud number one quarterback in the league.
More interceptions than touchdowns.
Yeah. It's the same thing with Zach Wilson in New York, where now he's going back in as their starting quarterback this weekend. And everyone, around the Jets and around him, they're trying to protect the guy and be like, he's young, this, that, and the other. He doesn't have weapons, although he's supposed to have weapons this year. But it's probably a combination of he just isn't that good, and he's proven that through a couple of years. Not that good. Yes, still young, maybe has some talent, but clearly does not have what it takes to be a stud in the NFL. Seems pretty obvious at this point. And it's the Jets, and they can basically ruin anybody.
Right.
So how do you, it is difficult to really decipher.
Well, with Jones, with Wilson, it's like, again, there's a reason why it's far-fetched that they were ever going to let Aaron Rodgers come back after Achilles surgery. And one of the main reasons was a terrible line.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how you judge quarterbacks when their line is so porous that everything is a scramble. You have no time in the pocket. Like, to me, it's a complete game changer. Like, you can't really judge a guy in any fair way. And I'm not saying Zach Wilson's awesome, and if he got behind the best line in the league, he would tear it up. I'm not suggesting anything of the sort. I'm just saying you can look really, really bad.
Improved.
Even the best guys can look bad if they have no time.
Yeah, no question. No question. It's imperative. You have to have an offensive line. You've got to have some weapons. Because there are some guys who have so much talent and so much ability that they can compensate for that. But it's very few guys.
Only a few.
That's like Mahomes and Burrow. Like there's a handful of guys tops. Outside of that, you need everything going your way in order to have success. And I think that's That's definitely the case with the Jets. It's the case with the New England Patriots. Probably the case with the Pittsburgh Steelers as well, right? Where tonight you got Mitch Trubisky starting, and he'd probably say, man, the Bears, I was screwed when I went to the Bears.
Yeah.
Yes, they took me second overall. Yes, Mahomes went after me, and that's a bad look. Yes, Deshaun Watson went after me. That's a bad look.
Not my fault, though.
Not my fault. You traded up to get me. And what did I have? Nothing, because it was Chicago. And they're still going through it. Now Justin Fields is dealing with the same thing Trubisky had to deal with.
They'll never get it right.
And they're probably going to move off him.
They're going to have to.
Yeah, they probably will. You got a scenario where you got a football game tonight. The total's 30.5. The spread is down to 5.5. Steelers at home, short week against this New England team. It says something about the Steelers that they're only getting 5.5 at home on a short week against New England.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually terrifying. And I guess it might say something about Belichick's coaching and their defensive prowess, because defensively, New England's still been very, very good.
And Belichick would like to point out that he's the defensive brain.
Yeah, it's not his fault.
Yeah, he's the guy in charge of D.
Right, exactly.
And they lost 6-0, 10-7, and 10-6 the last 3 weeks.
Crazy. So those would all be covers, except for the 6-0 loss.
Yeah, that was a half-point cover.
Spread.
That was a half-point cover for the Chargers.
So the Pats are still covering some games here. I don't know. We'll see. All right, Luke Willson, Al's brother, later in the hour. Here's our TSN hockey insider, Pierre LeBrun. Pierre, I'm sure you're not worried about the game tonight. You've got a doozy this weekend, man. Eagles, Cowboys. How are we feeling?
I strangely feel okay about it. I don't know why. I shouldn't overreact to the Eagles getting absolutely crushed last weekend by the best team in the NFL, the San Francisco 49ers. But, yeah, I feel good about my Cowboys. I just realized as I'm watching you on SportsCenter, Hayes, so it's a bit weird. I'm watching your face, but speaking to you in my phone.
Yes.
I forgot to put my Dallas Cowboys helmet in my background for insider trading. That is appearing shortly on SportsCenter. So I hope I didn't just jinx myself. I forgot to put the helmet out.
That's not good, man. My Packer helmet's always
Sorry. What are you doing with the helmet? Like, you move it around? Are you wearing it? Like, what are you doing with this thing?
It's just that I put it on the top of my couch where all my pictures are in my background in my office, but I don't leave it there because if you sit on the couch, then the helmet falls off, and then I get even more nervous about that.
Okay.
So I very carefully put it back on a shelf after I tape a hit and kiss it and give it a little kiss. But I don't want to leave it on the couch all the time.
Understandable. I'm with you. I got my Packers helmet right behind me when I'm at home. But, yeah, I'm in studio today. You're right. I can see up on TSN 4 on SportsCenter. Craig and I are yelling about the Battle of Ontario. And Dave and I have been kind of doing that today, trying to build it up a little bit. And, there's pressure on both teams to perform tonight. The Leafs, they've won a bunch of games. They've banked a bunch of points. They're in a playoff spot. They're pretty comfortable. During the regular season, they have been comfortable for years. I believe they're still a playoff team. I think they're going to get better as the year goes on. But there's been inconsistencies. They haven't played since Saturday night. You'd expect a big start from them and a good game from them. Yet for me, Pierre, you talk about a handful of teams in this league with pressure to really get started and really get going. Ottawa's probably still at the top of that list.
Yeah, no question, especially now that the Oilers have found their game, no question. And, listen, it's interesting. The last time these two teams played, I was in the building, and Ottawa came out it was kind of a wild win, right? And if I remember correctly, Sheldon Keefe went off after that game that lost to the Senators. But it was also in that 48-hour period where we found out that Steve Stais went into the Senators' dressing room 2 days before that game in Toronto and tried to steady the room. You can't do this all the time, right? As a GM or president, you have to choose your moments. But he went into the room after everything that had happened, right? The Shane Pinto suspension, the Senators forfeiting their pick, fans chanting for DJ Smith to be fired in Ottawa. And he went in with Alfredson and tried to calm the room down and the players down by saying, just, let's eliminate the white noise and focus. And for a while, I think it gave them a bit of a push. They won both games overseas in Sweden, but they've had some bad performances since there as well. So, it's a market, there's no question, that doesn't want to hear, let's be patient. That's just not – Ottawa fans are done with that.
Yeah, for sure.
And so you can sense almost more so than any Canadian team, and I don't want to it's anecdotal, I guess, but I really feel like there's almost no team in Canada right now that lives and dies more with each result every night, like one game on an 82-game schedule, more than Senators fans.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the fired DJ Smith chatter, it's obviously calmed down, Pierre, which is good for DJ Smith. And yet, the Senators go out and hire Jacques Martin as a senior advisor, obviously an esteemed former coach of the club with a hell of a track record. I mean, if you're DJ Smith, how do you interpret that move?
No, I think he welcomed that. I mean, I think it was well presented to him by Steve Staios. And listen, Steve Staios, I don't think is when you hear him talk, he really is. He wants to give DJ Smith as much rope as possible here, and I think that's legit. And one of the reasons why is because, and this has been the same. I'm sure you felt the same, Dave, and when you've talked to GMs over the years. The last thing you want to do as a new GM is make that switch right away. It's a very interesting thing, but that's something you want to keep in your, keep in your toolbox until you really have to do it. And the reality is, DJ Smith is on an expiring deal, so the decision is naturally going to present itself at some point here in a way. It's not going to be forced. So either they turn things around and have a playoff push, and that gets DJ Smith an extension, or obviously it's just too inconsistent and maybe they feel they need a new voice. But I don't think it's hiring of Jacques Martin as an advisor that would, to me, that's more about look at all the hires. They brought back Cyril Leader. They brought back Alfie.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is more about putting the band back together and putting some people in place that the market truly respects.
With Pierre LeBrun, our TSN hockey insider. So Patrick Kane making his return tonight. And it's going to be a cool event, cool scene. In Detroit, they're playing San Jose. It should be a game they get a win on. Detroit's been one of the truly positive stories of the year, considering how well he's been playing, how well they've been playing. They're in a playoff position. But I'm a bit skeptical on this. Like, I want to believe it. I want it to be a great story. Patrick Kane is a phenomenal player, but it's a major surgery, major injury. He's not young. I saw he's going to start on the second line with DeBrincat tonight. I don't know, Pierre. I'm skeptical this is going to work. Where are you at with Patrick Kane?
Well, you can't. Anyone who says for sure they think this is going to be a home run is that's your heart talking, and not like you can't know that in your mind because this is a rare surgery, and the only other guy that's had it, although it's not it may not have been the exact same surgery, but hip resurfacing surgery, is Nicholas Backstrom of the Capitals, who may never play again. Now, again, just because one athlete reacts a certain way doesn't mean another will. We know that from other surgeries, so you got to be careful not to draw a line there. But my point is, there's no guarantees here. I will tell you that Patrick Kane has told people around him he feels way better right now than he did when he played last year. When he played, like he was really on one hip last year and tried to gut it out after getting traded to the Rangers. So there is that. But let's see what the wear and tear, how it takes here. There's no question. And the other thing I would say is Steve Yzerman didn't just go into this and say, it's just for the rest of the year. Why not? My understanding of that is Steve Yzerman dug in hard and made a lot of phone calls and spoke to a lot of people about this before he decided to dive in and be one of the teams trying to sign him. So the Wings did not take this lightly, because I know a lot of people are like, well, it doesn't matter, so what? It's just for the rest of the year. The Wings didn't approach it that way. They did their homework. But again, even they know that there's no guarantee. The flip side, you kind of answer it yourself here. I know I'm going long, but what's interesting of Kane choosing Detroit over the likes of, Florida and the Rangers, Toronto on the periphery, is that Patrick Kane is saying, I think this team is for real.
Yeah,
he wants to be in the playoffs, and he's a huge, I think you guys know this probably about him, but he watches a ton of hockey. Like, he's one of those, some players leave it at the rink and don't care. Other guys go home and they're like hockey junkies. He's a hockey junkie, and he watched a ton of hockey in making his decision here. And he felt this was a team on the rise that's on the rise for good. So that's interesting, too.
Speaking of teams on the rise, Pierre, it's been 10 games since the Oilers fired Woodcroft and brought in Chris Knobloch. They've won 7 games. They blew out Carolina last night 6-1. Hat-trick for Hyman, 3-point night for McDavid. What's changed besides the coach, or what has changed because of the coach? What's gone on here that's turned this season around for the Oil?
Yeah. Well, just a quick thought though, because I think Hayes thinks about this all the time. I know that contract for Zach Hyman eventually may not age well, but he has been unreal in Edmonton since the day he got there. Like, it's unbelievable. His numbers.
What a signing. It's been amazing.
My gosh.
Yep.
Anyway, just a leap angle to an Oilers question, of course.
That's true, though.
But, let's be real. I mean, they're finally getting saves. And McDavid and Draisaitl have found their game. It's not rocket science. I don't think we have to go 10 layers deep here. I mean, that's what's happening with the Oilers. I sat down actually with Jeff Jackson, the Oilers CEO, at the Board of Governors, and did a little piece with The Athletic, and basically what he said. I mean, he was confident all along, even when it was complete chaos around him, that this team would show up. And what you never know is if you dig too deep a hole. But what is really fortunate for Edmonton, because maybe any other year it's too big a hole, is that the bottom end of the Western bracket, I think I mentioned this before, but the bottom end of the Western bracket is not that great. And so they are completely in it, despite a brutal opening 6 weeks to the season. I mean, it's really unbelievable. It's almost St. Louis Blues-like from 2019, really, in terms of digging a hole. But the Oilers are going to make it. I'm telling you right now, I will be absolutely shocked if they don't.
Well, do you think Minnesota will too? Because now they've won 4 in a row.
Yeah, and they're right there.
Yeah.
I know. And again, listen, great story in Arizona. I mean, listen, you have to respect the fact that Coyotes, we just talked about the Red Wings finally after the rebuild, right, making that jump, or it looks like they are. So is Arizona. But the fact of the matter is it doesn't make you think that there's zero chance they won't regress. So Arizona's there. I think St. Louis is 8th. Do you guys think the Blues are going to make the playoffs?
No.
And so it's right there for Minnesota and Edmonton. And they're lucky, man. I mean, that's the part of it. Good for them for turning their seasons around. But they are lucky they're not in the East. Because that probably is too big a hole in the East, to be quite frank, if you look at the 7 and 8 in the East.
Well, what's interesting is even within the Pacific, like Vegas is in. LA is they're a juggernaut right now. I mean, there's a lot of people that believe if the goaltending holds up, it's a big if. Mm-hmm. I'm not convinced it will, but it's a big if. If the goaltending's there, they have legitimate cup aspirations. Mm-hmm. And then you look at Vancouver, who had the hottest start at basically any team in terms of it being unpredictable. I mean, no one was surprised. Vegas was great, Colorado was great, Boston was great. Yet I think they're 6 and 7 in their last 13, starting to give up more goals, starting to come back down to earth. Like, that's another story when you look at the Oilers, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was like, if they're lucky, they backdoor into the wild card. I wonder if they're looking at Vancouver saying, 12 points, we still have a lot of games left, man. We might be able to catch them.
Yeah.
Like, it would be Vancouver that would have to come back to the pack.
Yeah.
But, man, the Canucks, all of a sudden, they're coming back to reality a little bit here, Pierre.
And that may be true. Now, the beauty for the Canucks is they banked so many points early that, honestly, if they were 500 for the rest of the year, doesn't that still put them right in the thick of it? I mean,
yeah, I think so.
That's the beauty of having a great start to the season. Honestly, though, I understand what you're saying about maybe third place in the Pacific versus a wild card. What does it matter to Edmonton? Just get in. I mean, if you're third in the Pacific, you're playing either LA or Vegas. If you're a wild card, you're playing either LA or Vegas or Colorado or so it doesn't, I mean, at this point, what Edmonton's brutal start has created is that you're starting the playoffs on the road, and you're starting the playoffs on the road against a really good team at this point.
Oof! Imagine that they crossed over, played Colorado in the first round.
Ooh.
That'd be terrifying for Colorado.
Wow! Yeah,
right? Like you have a great
thing. The thing I was thinking, guys, because technically on points percentage, I think the LA Kings are first in the West. Imagine if LA, which is really arguably the best story in the NHL right now, imagine if they win the West. And then they get a backed-in Oilers as the 8th seed in the first round. That's like them for a third straight year.
Okay.
I'm not saying they wouldn't win. I mean, LA's playing better than Edmonton, but it's not exactly here's your prize for winning the West. Jeez.
No, that is scary. That's true. Like LA, Vegas, whoever it is, it's like if Edmonton's rocking and they just get in, it's terrifying. You want McDavid and Draisaitl salivating, waiting to go, because that's not going to be a good scene at all. Anyway, bunch of games tonight. It's going to be a fun one, Pierre. Enjoy them all, and we'll do it again soon. Thank you, buddy.
Right on, boys. Sounds good.
There he is, Pierre LeBrun, our TSN Hockey Insider, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Build your next dream Toyota at Maple Toyota and check out Maple Toyota's pre-owned inventory. Arriving daily, it's time to Toyota. Visit mapletoyota.com. All right, we'll get to our best bets later in the hour. We got the Battle of Ontario tonight. Leafs, Sens, we're teeing that up. We've got the Thursday Nighter. Luke Willson will join us. Al's brother will join us. I can't tell if this is Photoshopped or not, but I think John Rahm is on Fox News.
Really?
Someone sent me that. Like, it has to be, like, a part of me is like, this has to be fake, but why wouldn't it be real? He's going there, and he's like in a live bomber jacket.
Okay.
But that's what makes me almost think, am I getting duped here? Like, is this a Photoshopping? But
you don't know
is it real, Doogie? Like, he was on Fox News? So John Rahm, I guess, was announcing he's going to live on Fox.
Yeah, I see the same thing.
All right. He's got a live bomber jacket on.
Real golf reporters are tweeting it. So
Okay.
I'm assuming it's real.
Yeah, there you go. It's official. John Rahm on his way to live golf. That means you won't see him at, like, Kapalua. I love that course, man. I love watching them play in Hawaii. It's so great. Last year, he stormed back and caught Morikawa. Remember, Morikawa had like a 6 or 8 shot lead, and he was unreal on Sunday.
Yeah, people. The golf reporters are saying he's right now on Fox News announcing that he's going to live.
Okay, so there you go. See you later, John Rahm. Everyone's digging up that old clip of his. Do we have it? Why don't we play it? Because you're going to hear it and see it everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
This is John Rahm less than a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Less than a year ago, this is what Rahm had to say about the idea of playing for the Live Tour.
Shotgun 3 days to me is not a golf tournament, no cut. It's that simple. I want to play against the best in the world in a format that's been going on for hundreds of years. Like, will our lifestyle change if I got $400 million? No. It will not change one bit. Truth be told, I could retire right now with what I've made and I've lived a very happy life and not play golf again. So, and for a lot of people, I'm not going to lie, those next 3-4 years are worth basically their retirement plan they're giving them. It's a very nice compensation to then retire and sail off to the sunset.
So, yeah, less than a year ago.
400 million, no, but 500.
500.
I might.
That might change my lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't wait to hear the explanation because he'll say it's not about the money, right? It's not about the money. He'll say he wants to spend more time with family, which probably is genuine.
Yeah.
Like I can't argue against that, right? It's a lesser schedule for sure, but it is about the money.
He's only 29. It's not like he's ready to retire.
No, the guys, it's him and Scheffler are the two best players in the world. Like, without question. McIlroy is in there at times.
For sure.
But you look at the season they had last year, as great as Scheffler was, Rahm was probably better.
He might have been.
And now...
certainly putted better. Yeah, Scheffler.
If Scheffler could putt, he was better.
And Scheffler, the way he was putting down in Tiger's little event.
That's scary
that
for the
could be a
rest
game
of the tour.
changer.
Yeah. But, like, it sets up for a clash at Augusta. Like, that's when we're going to see Rahm again. Because he'll play on live.
Yeah, we'll see Rahm and Koepka at Augusta again, and they're both probably be damn good, and everybody's be going,
what do we got?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be weird for Augusta, though, because, they side with the tour, but they're not going to damage their own product. They're letting live players in, which they did last year. They'll continue to do. But this is different. Like, this is the guy who won it.
I know.
Like, this guy's
doing the dinner and all the rest of it.
He's going to be putting the jacket on somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's John Rahm of Live Golf. And exactly, the Tuesday night champions dinner. It's like, man, this is a big one for Live.
I mean, I wonder,
a massive one for Live.
There's all this assumption that the so-called merger, which was never really going to be a merger, but the influx of Saudi money, maybe this is not going to happen now, or maybe this is the Saudis laying down another negotiating chip, saying, by the way,
now we
got keep hurting you.
Yes,
if you don't want to bend to our wishes, we'll just keep hurting you.
Right.
By taking your player after player after player. And we're just hearing now that Rahm is just the beginning of another wave of defections.
Right. Yeah, and I had read that today, that the idea that maybe this is like a negotiating chip for the Saudis. Like, all right, we got Rahm now, so we've damaged you that much more.
Hardball.
Like, let's work together here.
Yeah.
And I think what Liv wants and what they always have said, they don't think they're going to kill the PGA Tour. But they think
want to own it.
They want to own it, or they want to get on par with it.
Right.
And I think what might end up having to happen is the PGA Tour might end up just saying, screw it, you can be on both. But that is going to be chaos Because how many live golfers, if you're making that kind of money, why would you even care to play at Riviera or the Memorial? Like, if you're John Rahm, what do you care? You know? And then if you're guys who stuck around and didn't take it, like Thomas, like McIlroy, like Scheffler, you're like, wait a minute, these guys are just going to come back and now compete with me at Riv? You know, or whatever it is, or
and let's not forget, that was one of the first things that came out of those guys' mouths. The minute that story broke at the Canadian Open this year, that there was going to be this so-called merger between the Saudis and the PGA Tour, that was the biggest question players had. Wait a second. What if I didn't take the 100, 200, 300, 400 million? I stayed loyal to the tour, and you're going to let these guys back in. How am I compensated for being loyal?
Exactly.
And it's a good question. And guess what? There's never been an answer.
And there still isn't. And it's just continuing to add fuel to the fire. So, yeah, John Rahm on his way to live golf, courtesy of Fox News.
How about that?
Of all the places to do it. I guess, why not? There he is. With his live golf
nice
bomber jacket.
I think the live golf merch needs an upgrade.
Yeah, it's like, it does have an old school Raiders vibe. I will say that.
Okay, that's one of the nicer pieces I've seen, but the team gear, that's not flying off the shelves.
No, it's not. It's not. And that's the question. Like, when he shows up at Augusta, is he in live gear? Like, for that kind of money?
Most of the guys were wearing it.
Most of them. Now,
Koepka didn't.
Koepka's like, I'm a Nike guy, man. I'm showing up in Nike. Like, does he show up and say, I'm wearing Callaway and I don't know what apparel he's got?
He had Adidas, but maybe not.
He had Adidas for a long time. I don't know if he still is. Anyway. All right, Luke Willson coming up. Al's brother coming up. Our best bets brought to you by FanDuel. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
Who made this decision to play this?
Because a vision
Is that you, JP? Luke Wilson's in here. You can't play this song, man. Like, this is
the double-digit lead.
It's a dark time, man. I will admit. Darkness. I've been living in the darkness, man. I feel like Bane, right? Like, some people were brought to the darkness. I was born in the darkness, man.
Oh, man.
Dash 10's tough, Feschuk. Like, it's a big spread. Al's brother, I don't even know if Al's brother's going to join us today. I haven't heard from him in days.
I wouldn't if I were him. I wouldn't.
I'm worried about Al's brother. I really am.
I mean, he drove your chance off a cliff.
Yeah, we were right there in Tim Boyle, man. Like, that's on our grave, man. That's literally on our tombstone is we picked Tim Boyle. Yeah, and the rest was history, and we've been chasing it ever since. And to your credit, you guys have been picking winners. Yeah. You guys have been picking winners. You guys have had layups, which that's fine. Doogie makes sure.
We went with Cincinnati on Monday.
That was the play. I told you that was the play.
That was a good
I thought it'd be a back door.
That was the play.
I said I'd take the Bengals. I said it would be a back door. I didn't think they went outright.
Nobody did.
Nobody did.
I was probably an hour and a half into next-gen stats before I made that pick.
That was a great pick.
Great pick.
It was a phenomenal pick. And I guess Trevor Lawrence explained why there was no cart. But you played in the league. Like, is there any explanation? How is there not a golf cart to pick that guy up and get
No, I think there is. But he asked not to be.
Why? To, like, look tough or something?
Yeah, to be honest with you, on my rookie year, I got carted off for an ankle, similar situation. And I was, I'm 23 years old. I'm the young kid on the team. The team doc says, let's get him a card. I'm like, okay. Mm-hmm. I showed up Monday. Nothing was broken, thankfully. And boy, did I get it from the vets. Like, dude, you took a card off the field for a high ankle sprain. I mean, I never lived it down.
Yeah.
Probably 2-3 years before the vets had kind of moved on. And I was like, okay, no one can talk about that anymore.
See, I can understand that. But like you said, you're a rookie.
Yeah.
Tight end. This guy's the quarterback. It's his franchise. I mean, who's going to goof on him for taking a card?
Agreed, but he did send a message like, card's not for me.
Okay.
And he's not even wearing a boot, apparently.
Yeah,
which calls into question, like, maybe it's not as high as an ankle sprain as we thought it was.
I think part of it with those ankle sprains are like the initial kind of, I've had quite a few, the initial almost sprain, it becomes like wildly immobile. Mm-hmm. And, if they kind of get the swelling out, or if you've had ankle sprains before, they can come back quick depending on where it's located.
Right.
Well, like, it reminded me of Mahomes last year, where, remember, he suffered the high ankle sprain and there was real concern, like, can he play? And not only did he play, he wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But that was like with a 2-week bye and an understanding that he's got some rest in there. Lawrence has got to go along. They got to still, they're going to make it, but they're playing for positioning in the end.
For sure. And there are don't want to get too medical here, but I might have had my experiences in college with some high ankle sprains where there's a lot of numbing agents you can inject into that thing that feels pretty much like good as new. Now, the next day, it'll feel like somebody took a chainsaw to your ankle. But if it's I wouldn't do this to Trevor Lawrence, but if this was like a desperate situation, there's definitely ways you can get his ankle ready to play.
It's crazy what's going on in the NFL this year, right? Like it started in camp really with Joe Burrow. Like when Burrow went down a calf strain or whatever on like day 2 or 3 at camp, and we didn't see him for weeks. He ended up playing, but then his season eventually came to an end. Rodgers 4 snaps into his tenure in New York. He's done. Now you got Lawrence all banged up. Like you've had how many quarterbacks in the league that have gone down due to injury?
Record number.
Record number, man. Like exactly. Lawrence, Burrow, obviously Cousins is done for the year. My boy Kenny Pickett, Anthony Richardson done for the year. He looked real good. Deshaun Watson done.
I love how Aaron Rodgers isn't in red on that board right there because he's not done for the year. He's coming back.
He's holding on, right? And there's my man Kenny Pickett, right? Ankle. I don't know what to expect tonight. We have this game. Al's brother will join us here in a few moments.
Can I offer some advice?
Yes, please do.
I would let Al's brother pick, and then if I were you, I would take the opposite.
That's your advice. That is actually pretty sound advice. But I can't sit here and say I'm seeing the board that much more clear than he is. I don't like this game tonight. I think it's more funny that talking about the total. Like it's 30.5. I'm betting the under. I'm doing my best bets coming up. I'm on the under tonight. I see 13-6 tonight.
Yeah, I thought it was outrageously high. I expected it to be around 20.
Yeah.
And I'm not even exaggerating. When I saw 30.5, I'm like, really?
Right.
I mean, who's scoring?
I can't imagine. I don't think Trubisky will be any different than Pickett, personally. I think
so.
Like, if anything, he's more mobile. I think he'll run, or he has the possibility of getting outside of the pocket. But like Bailey Zappi, Stevenson's not playing.
Nope.
Like, there's nobody on the Patriots, unless it's defense and special teams. Like, that's the only possibility. A couple of fumble sixes, pick six
something like that.
Like, that's the only way it goes over the number.
They've scored 13 points the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Got shut out last week. Think
Brutal.
about that. I mean, it's hard to do.
It is. That's the thing. You just nailed it. It's hard to do that in this league. Like, with all of the studying and the numbers and the percentages and the stats, it's like, how do you get to the point where you literally can't do anything? Nothing works. They don't run the ball efficiently. I mean, they run it a lot, but they don't run it well. They don't throw it well. They don't have any sort of identity. It's kind of wild to me that offenses can become that stagnant over week after week after week. Again, like, you kind of have that one moment where, like, man, we got beat today. Let's go back to the drawing board, make sure this doesn't happen again. But
well, and doesn't this challenge the reputation of Belichick being this guy who's like always in the kitchen, working on stuff, cooking up new ingredients, new dishes, making sure that he's on top of things? And yes, I get it. You're a defense-first coach, but you're the head coach. You're responsible for the whole team.
Yes.
And this guy can't cook up anything?
Anything.
Like, he's got nothing going offensively. How can you, like, he's a great coach. I'm not disparaging what he is and what he's done. His resume speaks for itself. But I'm sorry.
Yes.
So you are responsible for this. You've got to find a way to put points on the board, and Bill Belichick can't do it.
I totally agree. And I also think that part of Belichick's problem is that he just doesn't connect with players, especially the modern day player. You look at those teams that were great on, the first guy you think of is Tom Brady. Okay. And even just listening to Tom post-career now, he really talks like he was, I mean, no surprise here, but the leader of that locker room, a leader of men. Everybody rallied around him. And I even look at some of the defensive guys they had, and I'm talking from way back. You think of Teddy Bruschi, the special teamer who's got the record in the NFL, Larry Izzo, shout out the Rice Owls. You know, you look at all these guys, and they're this old school kind of mentality that are like, hey, we're very self-motivated. We're going to get it done. We got the, Army general and Bill. And now all of a sudden, he has none of that. And when you lose like this, you don't buy in as a player. Like, I remember my year with Matt Patricia. I tell a story all the time. First play of the season, we have a pick six against Sam Darnold. And I remember vividly thinking, I think it was Monday Night Football, man, maybe the Patriot way does work, because it was the worst camp I've ever had in my life. It's the worst OTAs I've ever had in my life. Everything was miserable. It sucked. And then we lost by 30, and it was like, we just lost the Jets by 30, and we had a pick six. And you just started to see week 1, week 2, week 3, all of a sudden we have a bad record. And you're like, wait, we're doing all this nonsense and nothing is working, and guys don't want to be there.
We'll get into big games this weekend, right?
Big
Sunday
games.
nighter is a massive game. We'll get into the Bills-Chiefs more tomorrow in terms of what is at stake. But I'm sure you've seen these reports coming out of Buffalo with Sean McDermott, their head coach down in Buffalo.
It's absurd.
I can't believe it. There's a guy by the name of Tyler Dunn. He's a reporter down in Buffalo. He I believe works or used to work for the Buffalo News, and he's written an article, and it's come out while we've been on the air, so I haven't been able to read everything. I'm assuming this was during training
McDermott has
camp.
apologized for it already.
Yes, he's already come out and apologized for it. So the report, which means it happened.
Yes.
McDermott's admitting it happened. That McDermott, the head coach of the Bills at one point, addressed the team when they were in Pittsburgh, New York. Again, I would assume this is during training camp. And he wanted to stress the idea that the entire team had to come together. And in doing so, he used the terrorists of September 11th. So he cited the hijackers as a group of people who were all able to get on the same page to orchestrate attacks to perfection. I was reading this during the break earlier. I'm like, I can't believe this.
How can you
What is he
be
doing?
so tone deaf as a human being, let alone a head football coach in the NFL?
Wow.
And like, if you want to get into airplanes and that sort of thing, there's probably, I'm a bit of a World War II buff guy. There's probably 9,000 World War II examples that would have really been a lot better than this.
Right, exactly.
You think?
What on earth?
Exactly. I mean, and listen, there are sensitivity issues with any analogy using war, but maybe use an American side of things.
Yeah,
Like you're asking, and he was directly asking players, like, what tactics do you think they used to come together? Imagine you're in the room and it's like, what do you think the terrorists were? How were they so successful, Luke? And you've got to answer that in front of the whole team?
Go Al Qaeda.
Yeah, it's
come on.
crazy.
Are we serious?
It's insanity.
And again, he has addressed it and apologized for it, so he's not disputing it.
No.
Like, this happened.
And again, I think of myself, I've been in a few meeting rooms here and there, and I was a big Pete Carroll guy. I did not spend a lot of time with John Gruden. Nothing even close to this egregious. I want to make sure I'm very clear on that. But there was the odd thing Gruden would say where I was like, this guy's kind of funny. Like, he's a bit of a jester. Again, this is way millions times worse than anything I ever heard come out of John Gruden's mouth. But if I'm in that meeting room and I have a coach that says this, the first thing, especially as a veteran guy, maybe as a 23-year-old, I'm like, just hoping the guy likes me. But if you're 5-6 years deep, the first thing you think is, this guy has no idea of reality and we are totally screwed.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, it's one thing to say something inappropriate, but when you say something this clueless, like doesn't it just say, like, I have no clue beyond this? You know, like, this isn't just
no
about
idea.
this.
Like, this is a really strange tactic.
This really calls it a question.
This is a guy who's going to have 20 seconds left on the clock and 2 timeouts, burn one on icing the kicker, and then take a knee with Josh Allen.
Yeah. He's
He's out to lunch.
It is. Like, it may not be a direct correlation to 6-6 and poor coaching, but it's incredibly poor judgment. And I don't know. I can't wrap my head around the idea of using 9/11 as a rallying cry.
Whoever thought it was a good idea.
Again, on the other side.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like attacking America.
Yes.
It's just unbelievable.
It really is like a shocking
Like,
story.
he didn't. One thing we could say, he didn't plagiarize it. He thought this up himself because this has never been thought of before.
Right. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
In front, addressing the whole team and then individually asking players about it.
There's a comment in there,
story,
which
man.
is kind of funny, but it sounded like a veteran guy. He started like digging into this idea and was like, what do you think their biggest barrier was? And somebody said, TSA?
Yeah. to try to lighten the mood.
I mean,
it's crazy. Man.
It's crazy.
Okay, that's a heavy topic.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a heavy topic.
Well, it shouldn't be. It's in a lot of ways, it's so laughable. It's not even heavy because we all know what happened on 9/11. But like for this guy to use that analogy, it's comical.
Exactly.
It's so stupid.
Again, I've been a part of a lot of motivational speeches, and not one of them has ever been offside. There's a lot of...
Like where you have to apologize afterwards.
I've never even come close to having anyone say that.
No, it shouldn't happen. And it has here with Sean McDermott. Well, I know a guy that never has to apologize for anything. Nothing. There's my guy.
There he is. Oh, there he is.
Al's brother, I love you. God, we need a win tonight. We need a win tonight, Partsy. How we feeling? How we feeling?
You know what? I'm feeling a little bit better because I dug into the information. And, hey, Luke, I appreciate you dropping that nice little next-gen stat. You brought up EPA last weekend. And me and Hayes, we were all over the Bengals, just so you know, for that exact reason.
No, you weren't.
And I went in. We were 100%.
Loved
100%. And we dug into the information today, and I think we got a lock tonight.
Okay. Al's brother, the floor is yours. The comeback begins tonight.
It's 5.5, not 6.5?
Yeah, the spread's 5.5, right, on FanDuel. It's 5.5 Pittsburgh. In terms of using an analogy that I think is appropriate, it's 28-3 right now.
You guys need wins.
Beat Tom Brady.
You need wins.
Beat Tom Brady. Go ahead, Al's brother.
Look, ultimately, I can't in good conscience take Bailey Zappi and the Patriots. We made that mistake once with Tim Boyle. I don't think we can go there again. You look, they've scored 0 points last week against a pretty mid-Chargers defense. This is a team that scored 13 points over the course of the last 3 games. They got no Ramondre Stevenson, Demario Douglas, who's become a useful weapon. He's out of the game tonight. And Pittsburgh, this team can get after it. I think Zappi's going to be under a lot of pressure. The Patriots have the worst win rate when it comes to pass blocking tonight. They're allowing pressures on over 50% of their pass blocks. So I really think that that's going to be a problem against TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. Offensively, they're doing a lot better in Pittsburgh with Matt Canada out of there.
Yes.
I saw a crazy stat today that they've completed 25% of their middle of the field passes in the last 2 weeks. Throughout the entire season. It's insane. So they're getting a boost offensively. I don't think there's much drop-off from Mitch Trubisky. You end up with a much healthier offense with Deontay Johnson back, Pat Freiermuth. Sounds like Isaac Suomelo's going to be playing on the offensive line. So I think that the Steelers, it's going to be a boring game. It's going to be a slog. But ultimately, I think they cover the number.
Yep, I'm with you on that, Al's brother, because that is tremendous information. Gut instinct says Pittsburgh's playing for something. New England's not. If anything, New England's playing for a loss. They're playing for a loss tonight.
I'm going to tell you right now, pick New England.
No, we're not. We're taking the Steelers.
Pick
we're going to
New
lay
England.
the points. Why would you suggest that?
First and foremost, this man just talked about next-gen stats, and I thought he was actually going to make the correct pick tonight. Al's brother, New England's defense, rush defense, EPA, where do they rank in the NFL?
They're number one. I
Number
understand they got the best
one.
defense in
Number
the NFL,
one.
but they're not going to.
So you can't run the ball tonight. You can't run the ball.
Fine.
So Mitch Trubisky is going to. You're telling me Mitch Trubisky is going to shred this New England defense tonight and score more than 6 points than New England.
They might need 2 field goals and they'll cover.
Two field goals.
No.
I need 2 field goals. That's all I need tonight.
That's all I need.
You get a nice fumble, a pick six,
you realize
something.
this is the same Steelers team that just lost by double digits to Arizona.
Right, but what did they do the week before?
This is the same Steelers team
the week before that
has been outgained every single game this year, -1.
No, it doesn't matter.
They are
dude.
terrible.
With Matt Canada. Matt Canada no longer in the building, my friend.
That's right.
Yeah, the last 2, so they're 1-1 without him. They have 1 fluke game, and they got the doors blown off the next game.
Bad weather. Bad weather, and Kenny Pickett got hurt.
You guys have lost your mind. You're going to give 6 points away?
5.5. 5.5 to Bill Belichick, who's trying to lose. Tomlin's a great coach. I believe he drags them to 500. They're still in the hunt right now. They got a better defense, albeit the EPA, run game, all that kind of stuff. TJ Watt cooks tonight. Bailey Zappi's going to freak.
You guys,
a fumble 6,
right.
a pick
Or
6.
plus 11.
Trubisky runs for 1. I think I honestly think it's like 17-6 tonight. 17-6 Steelers.
This has
Hazenbrough.
and even if it gets there, backdoor cover written all over it.
Okay, quickly, one more comment, House brother. We got to go.
Give us the under as well.
Yes, under.
Give us a chance at the under. Give us a chance to get
Is
that
that the proposal?
tonight.
Do we want the under tonight for a point?
Why would I give you that?
All right, then don't. Gutless or not gutless? It's gutless or
These
not
guys
gutless.
are begging.
Gutless.
I got some for you. You want proposals? I'll make.
Save it for tomorrow.
Okay.
Coming back tomorrow, we'll have more proposals. Al's brother, best of luck to you and I tonight.
Oh, yeah. We'll be waving that terrible towel all night long, pal. See you tomorrow, boys.
You got it. Al's brother, we'll catch you tomorrow. Luke will catch you tomorrow.
Hayes, you got it.
Hayes and Bro are on the Steelers. We're laying the points.
You got to get rid of the anchor.
Oh, man. It's not happening. Short week. I love Tomlin at home in a short week. You know he snapped on his team, Trubisky. He's ready to rock. I like them tonight.
No, you don't.
I mean,
No, you don't.
I want to like them, and I believe I will.
Patriots 2-2 2-10 against the spread. So
See, there you go. Thank you,
Might be-
Feschuk.
I'm
That's
telling
I don't
you.
know.
tremendous information and gut
They're
instinct.
taking away the run game. Mitch Trubisky's going to have to
Trubisky's
deal.
going to break loose tonight. I
He
like
has
him
to.
run for
If
a
you
lot of
want to
yards.
win, he has to.
He will. All right, Luke. Good seeing you.
Good to see you.
There's
too.
Luke Willson. All right, Thursday nighter tonight, Hayes and Bro. We're on the Steelers. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Steelers money line, under the number, 30.5 points. Trubisky over 12.5 rushing yards. I think he's going to have to break loose from the pocket a lot. He's going to scramble. There's going to be RPOs. I think Trubisky's going to have to use his legs. He's going to have to move tonight. So that's your parlay, man. That's your SGP for tonight. Steelers money line, under the number, 30.5 points. I can't believe that that's the number, but I think the play is the under. I think it has to be. And Trubisky over 12.5 rushing yards tonight. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is the exclusive home of the OverDrive same-game parlay. Please play responsibly. Must be 19 plus. Physically located in Ontario. It should be a fun one tonight. Not necessarily
I don't
the
know.
football game, but the hockey game should be good.
Yeah, the hockey game's going to be good. The football game is, you almost want to bet the under just to say you did because
Yes.
it's like the lowest total in some 30-something years.
Right. And watch
it's
it be
like-
42-39 tonight.
Wouldn't that be something?
Like, that's just what always ends.
Yeah.
It seems to happen that way. Like, it'll be 14-14 at the half, and you're like, what? How did that
Exactly.
happen?
Exactly. There'll be all kinds of turnovers.
Yeah.
There'll be special teams touchdowns. There'll
Exactly.
be weird
Someone will
stuff.
take a punt to the
Right.
house, or something weird will happen. But anyway, we got that game. We got the Leafs in action tonight. Otani's still out there, which means the dream's alive, Dave. He
Oh,
still
yeah.
could be a Blue Jay. Anything's possible here. Good seeing you, Dave. Thanks for doing this.
Great to be here.
Dave Feschuk of the Toronto Star. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. Radio, TV, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy your games tonight. We're back tomorrow at 4 p.m. We'll chat then.